Hi, everybody. Trisha's checking to see because I just did a live. Apparently, I didn't do a live because it didn't start. It says live. Are you seeing it?
Not as of yet. Yep, now it is.
Okay, so she said I'm live now. You got me?
Yep.
Okay, all right. Okay, there it is. So I wanted to come to you today. I just did this. So hopefully the first one was a dress rehearsal and now you'll get the whole second thing again. So be patient with me. Anyway, I over the weekend, summer, I'm so glad it's here. I can't believe that it's Memorial Day weekend. We had such great weather over the weekend. Oh my gosh, I'm so ready for this weather all the time. But you know, it's been so interesting. What I have experienced that I've never experienced before is this employee shortage. I think back a lot to where we were a year ago, being in the middle of a pandemic, things being canceled. My son is getting ready to graduate from high school this weekend. I remember last year, the kids didn't know whether they were going to have a graduation. They were going to graduate, but they didn't know they were actually going to have the graduation. So all of those things that we just, I'm a huge Indy 500 fan. For years, I was able to go to the Indianapolis 500, loved all the pomp and circumstance. Last year, they canceled it. This year, they're actually going to run it again. So I'm glad to see that things are getting back to normal. But it's really interesting because even though there are some things that are getting back to normal, there are some things that are just abnormal that I've never experienced. So last Wednesday night, Seth had an academic awards ceremony, and we thought, after we get done, we'll go for ice cream and kind of celebrate his accomplishments and his achievements. And it was awesome. And we were going to, like I said, go get ice cream, but we couldn't. The couple of the places that we went to, they were closed. The dining rooms were closed. You couldn't go inside because they didn't have enough employees. And there was a second place that we went to that experienced the same thing. And I thought, wow, I just have never experienced this before, that there are employee shortage. But I started to think about, what about those people that are still working, and what has this employee shortage taught me, and how does it parallel to someone that you're caring for with a cancer or long-term illness, whatever that is. And so, one of the things that the employee shortage has actually taught me is patience. So I'm a big run in the morning, get an iced tea person, and there's always a long line. The line seems like it takes much longer. And there are a lot of places. If I go grocery shopping, the lines are much longer. Even the self-checkout lines, they're much longer. Because they don't have as many full service lines open, because they have the checkout lines. There's no limit on the number of items that you can do. So I'm just finding that there seems to be more waiting on different levels. So it's teaching me patience, and I'm not good with patience. This is something that I've really had to work on. And so I love the movie called, what's that called? Evan Almighty. And it was a sequel to Bruce Almighty. And in this movie, Morgan Freeman plays God. And the Evan Almighty's wife is just sitting there, or Evan's wife is sitting there talking, and they're talking about patience. And what Morgan Freeman says, if you pray for patience, do you think that God is going to give you patience? Or do you think that God's going to give you situations that will cause you to gain patience? And the second one is right, which is why I never pray for patience, because I don't necessarily want to be put in those situations where I have to learn patience, because I'm not good at it. But I'm learning, right? I'm trying to be a lot more understanding, where some of the places that we've gone, that the service is a little slower than what I anticipated, whether it's a grocery store, whether it's, a clothing store, whether it's a restaurant, whatever that is. But what I really tried to do is be appreciative and grateful for the people that are working. So I found myself, as I go through the McDonald's drive-thru to get an iced tea, in the morning, I thank the people that are there working, and I thank them for working so hard. We had an opportunity. We went to dinner on Friday night. We went to Papa Vino's, and it's a big deal right now because last weekend was Notre Dame graduation here in town. And all of those restaurants, normally all the restaurants are very busy. So I was really surprised when I called and found out that there wasn't a wait. Well, when we got there, and we talked to the server. Just told her that. I said, I'm really surprised we could even get in. And she said that Notre Dame had made the decision that they were feeding a lot of people on campus. So a lot of the visitors that were in town that normally frequent a lot of the restaurants, that they weren't frequenting those restaurants. They were in, they were doing everything on campus. So these restaurants that thought that they were going to be extra busy are not busy. And so I found myself, striking up a conversation. Our service was absolutely fantastic. We told her what a great job she did. We watched managers like cleaning off tables. And so I'm finding myself just a lot more appreciative of those kind of things. Yesterday morning, my son and I went to mass in the morning, and then our usual is to go get a bagel afterwards. And I watched two managers at Panera work and do all the things. They were making all the food. They were serving all the food. They were putting everything out. There was a sign at the cashier station that said that please be careful or be patient with us. If we're not right here taking your order, we're answering the phone. We're helping with food prep. I think that in that Panera, there may have only been 4 people working, which is not normal for a Panera at all. Normally, there are a ton more people that are working. And so when I went and I collected our bagels, I thanked them. I said, thank you so much. I said, you guys are doing a really great job. And I think that people just want to be recognized. But, as I'm going through this and watching this, it's just, the pandemic was one set of problems. Now coming out of the pandemic, you want that normalcy, but it's still not normal. Because, like I said, because of the employee shortage, things are just a little bit different. And all of a sudden, I started to think about this and the parallel when you're caring for somebody that has cancer or being a caregiver. So I was a caregiver for 20 years for Mike before he passed away, which he'll be gone 4 years next month, which I can't believe. But I think about those kind of things. We were married for 3 years before he was diagnosed. So I went from normal to abnormal. All of a sudden, we were this young married couple that should have been doing all these things that young married couples do, and our time was now filled with doctor's appointments and hospital visits and all of these tests that were happening. But what I learned from all of that is what I want to share with you. And there are 4 different things that I learned that I could have been better at, but I learned them. And so again, I'm hoping that this is something that will speak to you if you are caring for a loved one that has been diagnosed with cancer or has a long-term illness. Number 1 is just patience. When Mike was diagnosed with this, I know I wasn't very patient. As I said, our world had been turned upside down. All of a sudden, all the normalcy we had and all the plans and stuff that we had, it was no longer normal. Vacations were canceled. We spent holidays in the hospital. And I'm sure I wasn't very, very patient. But I wanted to be more patient. And I did try and be patient. There were times where I would just go take a walk and, take a deep breath and then come back in. But when you've got a loved one that's sick, I think that's what they need more than anything is they just need your patience. They don't like this either. They're not happy about being sick. They understand that their world is different. They can't do all the things that they used to do. They can't keep up with you. They can't go for long periods of time. They may not be able to. They may need more naps. They might not have a taste for something. If your normal is pizza on Friday night, maybe they can't eat pizza on Friday night now because of what the chemo or the whatever cancer treatment that they're on is doing to them. And so we have to be patient. We have to be flexible, right? We have to know that things are going to change a little bit. So that's the first one. When you've got someone that is diagnosed with cancer, I would highly recommend to try and be as patient as possible. The second thing is to be encouraging. I would always tell Mike, thanks so much. You're doing a great job. Thank you so much for fighting so hard for our family. I know this isn't easy for you. I know you'd rather be someplace else than in the hospital, but you know what? We're here together. So let's just make the best of it. So I think sometimes it's just like these hardworking people, for me, when I get an iced tea every day at McDonald's, I try and make sure to that person, thanks for working so hard. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your smile. Thank you for the joy that you have. Thank you for whatever it is. Just being acknowledging. I think that that's the biggest thing. When you've got someone that's sick, they just want to be acknowledged that you see them. You see how hard they're working. You see that they're really, really, really trying. Now, you may see it and not say anything, but they really need to hear your words. I see you. You're doing a great job. Thank you for going through all that you're going through. Thank you for fighting as hard for us as you are. But I think that giving that encouragement, I feel like a little bit of an encouragement goes a long way. I had a former roommate of mine that actually sent me a card once a month for a whole year after Mike died. And she may not have thought it was a big deal, but just getting that card once a month allowed me to know that someone was thinking about me. Somebody was encouraging me. It had a Bible verse in it. It had, just you're doing a great job, whatever it looked like. I really appreciated that. So I know even from that side of it, just what a few encouraging words can mean to somebody that may need them. And you may not even know that they need them, but just follow whatever that prompting is. The third thing is to be grateful. So number 1 is be patient. Number 2 is be encouraging. Number 3 is be grateful. If you've watched me for any time at all, you'll know that I'm a big fan of Anthony Robbins. And one of the things that he says is that you can't be grateful and fearful at the same time. And I truly believe that. I know that sometimes like my tension would get really high when I'm fearful, when I don't know what's coming next. So there were times where Mike and we did a pretty good job with that. Every night at the end of the night, I would always say to him, what are you grateful for? What are you grateful for? Every morning I try and get up and write 10 things down that I'm grateful for. And sometimes it's the littlest things that I had to be grateful for. I know that there were days where after Mike passed away, and here I am a solo parent, I never, ever, ever wanted to be a single parent, solo parent. I always wanted to make sure that if I was going to have a child, that it was somebody that we were running this together so that, it's hard to be a single parent and play good cop and bad cop. Sometimes you have to be both, but it's not fun to do both. And so there were times where I had to, after Mike died, I had to find things. I had to be grateful that I had a roof over my head. I had to be grateful that the car was still running. I had to be grateful that the child was still alive, right? That I was able to keep the child alive, whatever that, because those were all things that I was fearful of. I would fearful that the house would fall down around me. I was fearful that I couldn't keep the car running. I didn't know any of these things. I didn't know anything about those things. And then it was to keep Seth's car driving. And then it was to make sure that there was food in the refrigerator, all the things that Seth needed. And I would get overwhelmed. And so sometimes I would just have to stop and just be grateful. Grateful for all the things that are around me. Grateful that, the sun was in the sky. Grateful that the trees had blooms on them. Grateful that the grass was green, whatever it was. Grateful that there was a dust bunny in my house. Grateful that I had a house that could have a dust bunny. Whatever that is, we just have to be grateful. And it's so interesting that when you practice gratitude, all of that fear goes away. All of that fear goes away. So I cannot encourage you enough, even if you can't come up with 10 things, sit down every morning and just write 5 things that you're grateful for. Because whatever that fear is, first of all, it's a great way to start your day. But second of all, it washes anything that you're unsure of, any of that fear, it will just wash all of that away. So the fourth one is to ask a different question. So be patient, be encouraging, be grateful, and ask a different question. So during Mike's trial, when he had his own illness, his dad had been diagnosed with lung cancer that went into his liver. He was diagnosed right around Father's Day, and he passed away the middle of August. So it was just a 6 to 8 week battle. But it was an intense battle during that time, and Mike was his caregiver. And so what I tried to do was I tried to help Mike as much as I could. And I would ask him every day, how can I help you? What can I do? How can I help you? And so my little nephew was on the outside of my office while looking in, so I just had to wave to him real quick. And so I would ask him all the time, how can I help you? And I would get, you know what, I'm fine. I don't need any help. I'm okay. Well, what I realized was when I would say to him, how can I help you? It was implying to him that he needed my help. It was implying to him that he was weak, that he couldn't do it on his own. And that's not what I meant. I was just trying to alleviate some of the pressure that he had. But I found that if I asked the same question, I got the same response. So I needed to elicit a different question, so I needed to ask a different, or I needed to elicit a different response, so I needed to ask a different question. So what I started to do instead was I started to ask him, how can I support you? What do you need from me today? How can I support you? And so it wasn't that automatic nothing. Because I asked a different question, it allowed him to sit back and just say, you know, if you could just get Seth for me today, or make sure Seth was taken care of, I could really use that support today. Or if you can, just make sure that, the laundry's done or whatever. That's all I needed. So, but I found that because I asked a different question, I got a different response, right? People that are sick get tired of being asked, how are you feeling? It's the same thing. They don't really want to tell you how they feel, and you may not really want to hear how they feel. So come up with a different question. If you ask them, how can I help you? They're always going to tell you, I don't need your help. They're always going to tell you, I'm fine. There have been times for me where I've said to somebody, hey, can I do this for you? No, I'm okay. I've gone ahead and done it anyway. And then they smile and they thank me. They didn't want to ask for the help, but they could really use it. So find a different way to ask that different question, right? So here are the 4 things again. When you're dealing with someone, be patient, be encouraging, be grateful, and ask a different question. When you're out and about, whether you're at the grocery store, whether it's your yard person, whether it's the person that cleaned your house, if you're just running through the drive-thru somewhere, make sure that you say thank you to all of those people that are still out there that are working hard for us. Make sure that you let them know that you see them and that you want to encourage them by saying thank you for working as hard as you are, that we really appreciate you. And those little things go a really long way. I think that they go further than what we can even imagine. And it doesn't take much effort to be able to say, thank you, you're doing a great job. I've even gone so far as to say, thank you, you're doing a great job. Can I see your manager? And then I let the manager know, you know what, this person was fantastic. You know, they went the extra mile at the grocery store to get me what I wanted. They were very attentive while we were at dinner, whatever that is. But again, I think that so many times that the managers hear all the bad, but they don't hear the good. So you know what? Spread a little good news. Tell somebody that they're doing a great job. Thank them for being present. Thank them for being there. And take care of those loved ones that you have, because we just don't know. Life is so short. It's way too short. So take care of those loved ones that you have. Give the extra hugs that they need. So if you have any other ways that you found that were great about supporting a loved one that had a long-term illness or was battling cancer, please share those with me, because I love to add those to my blog posts that I write. If you've got a loved one that's battling cancer, make sure you check out our website, hellogorgeous.org. We have a free resources page. And if you haven't yet, I want to encourage you to leave a comment about this one and download our mobile app. Thanks so much, you guys.